be wary of those who overpromise. In the end, you're inviting, say, 4 different businesses to come and bid for your money. And the predominant initial objective is to win your money. And not everyone is honest and professional, and there are people who will overpromise.
Hi, Bot. So today we decided to talk about choosing and appointing the design team. So I think you mentioned that you see this as the second most important decision.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So
why is the second most important? I'll let you kick off on that.
Okay. Why is the second one? I don't want to jump about, because I think we'll do a podcast about what are the most important factors in setting out for a successful project or successful project delivery. And in my opinion, this is the second most important factor, because design team works very close with the client and will influence most of the roadmap and delivery of the project. They will influence not only the design, but the procurement, choosing the other professionals to help with the project, depending on the size of the project, what's needed, and then choosing the procedures for picking up contractor, delivering on site, and so on. So it's a long process, and the design team, or the first appointment of the design team or client's team, it's there right from the start, and in most cases right till the end.
Yeah.
And second most important factor, you need to choose the right people for the project.
And we'll come on to, like you said in another episode, what the first is, so everybody's hanging by
I did that on purpose.
Tenterhooks on that one.
Come back on that.
And I think it's probably worth kind of explaining from kind of our experience what the design team is, because it's not just design is like, it covers so much, but I think you can be architect, you can be project manager. Even in that spectrum, like, it's where to even start? How do you even think about, okay, am I just looking for somebody that does drawings, or what in my project is, what do I want from the design? How do I even navigate that? And I think sometimes people don't always fully even understand what an architect can do, what a project manager can do, and where they should start the process from. So in your experience, what do you see as, like, okay, for me, the first point is, I want to do this with my home. Now what?
Well, I think perhaps maybe we chose the topic slightly misleadingly, but you could use you use two different names, either design team or clients team, and perhaps design is a little bit misleading, because actually we're talking about the start of the process of appointing the team that the client needs for the project to be delivered successfully. And that may include a project manager for larger projects. That is not a part of the design team strictly.
And what do you constitute? I'm just going to interject there. What do you constitute a larger project? What does that mean to you?
It's all relative. I think in construction, I look at projects. I divide them in private residential. I divide them in under 2 million and over 2 million pounds. And that over 2 million pounds is, I consider, larger projects. And my reasoning for that is that the over 2 million pounds, the project has sufficient amount of risk and opportunities to reduce that risk, and opportunities to deliver greater value for the ultimately for the client, to justify a larger team. Under 2 million pounds it's quite difficult. I'm a quantity surveyor. we always try to bring net value to the client. But if a project's 12 months, say on site, whether it's 200,000 or 2 million pounds, our work is not 10 times as much. So our fee is not 10 times lower on 200,000 pounds. And it's not a good value to pay me to come to site every 2 weeks and do something or pretend I do something, because that money can be spent somewhere else in better way, bringing more value to the client. Over 2 million pounds, those calculations change. They lean more towards that it's worth to employ quantity surveyor, perhaps with another 500,000, a million. It's worth to consider project manager. And such. And
it's that value proposition, isn't it? And I think it's really setting out what that looks like at the outset as to which person you're engaging. And I think just
to start with.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because I think that's a good point. And you should. I don't want to talk too much, because I always do. I always talk too much. But you're the architect, and you actually know much more than me about the early setup of the team, especially on the design side. So I'm going to ask you a question.
Go for it.
Who do you approach first? How do who? Say I'm a client and I've got a project. What do I do first?
So quite often the first starting point is either they go direct to builder, and that's the honest truth, especially at the smaller scale of the spectrum, if we're just looking at the scales that you've just discussed, because I think they're thinking end result. I need somebody to build this, whatever this might be.
Which I understand.
And so builder seems to be the kind of first approach. Otherwise, they're thinking, well, I need somebody to design this before I can go to the builder. And in my experience, again, a good builder will say, well, you need somebody to give me something to build from. So you need to go back to architect, and hence we'll speak to a customer. And then it's a case of actually, right now, looking at what you're looking to do, these are the additional people you may need. But yes, I am here as, I almost call it like client protector at that early stage. As you said, kind of the design person that's overseeing your whole project from start to finish, to protect you and navigate you through the hurdles as we go.
Yeah. I understand that approach, especially on smaller projects that clients, private clients, go to builder first. I think that as the project gets larger, that approach changes. But perhaps we should introduce an idea of lead designer.
Yeah.
We'll have an episode explaining who's who, right? Don't worry about that. but from your experience, architect, who's a lead designer?
Yeah, so I think the lead designer would be your architect at that stage.
But what does it mean? What does it entail?
What does it entail? It's almost helping you navigate what your brief is the starting point. And often, you have a vision as a customer. You say, okay, this is what I want to end up with, but no idea how to get from A to Z. And our job is to help you to get from A to Z and understand the constraints that might be there along the way. Mm-hmm. And being quite honest about that. And sometimes that honesty is hard-hitting. But equally, it's about, okay, we're leading you through this process as the designers with our experience. And the other thing with design is that everybody's solution to how to get to A to Z is going to be slightly different. And when you're selecting your design team, understanding how they're going to work with you to get you from A to Z, I think is also part of that process of navigation. Yeah. Because everybody does it in different ways, but it's not always going to work with the way that you as a customer might approach it. And there are various factors within that really come into play, I think. Some people kind of, I want to be ready to put things in the ground within 6 months. And it's like, whoa, that's never going to happen. because of X, Y, Z. And yet you can have that same conversation with somebody else and they'll say, yeah, we can do it within 2.5 months. And when I hear those parallels, I'm always left scratching my head a little bit thinking, well, hold on a minute. Am I doing it wrong or are they doing it wrong? But it's just different approaches to the same problem. Yeah. And it's about how you get there and what value you're going to get in the process. And I think you mentioned value early on. So it's how can your design team help you with that value? Because actually, this is going to probably be one of the biggest spends you'll make after your home. It's about protecting that spend through the journey. And if it takes 6 months longer to do that, is that time well spent rather than 10 years of regret afterwards? And I think that's really, really important to kind of understand. It might seem urgent, but we're talking about longer term outcomes.
Yeah, I think that time skills is a completely different conversation. And actually, we need to make an episode about that.
Being realistic about them, right?
Be realistic about that. But going back to the lead designer, I'm not an architect. I'm a quantity surveyor. I'm interested in money. And contracts, really, and responsibility, which comes from the contracts. I would, what you said about the lead designer, that leading the client, actually very important. I don't think about it very much, but from my point of view, it's a lead designer will be quite often the first person, if it is an architect, that you approach that tells you what are the routes you can take, what are the options, possibilities, and so on, and then assist in appointing the reminder of your design team and ensuring that they're delivering what they should be delivering. So, in case for smaller projects, we already said under £2 million. I would, if anyone asked me, or if it was my project, which actually I've got home as well, I would approach an architect as a first contact, and I would expect the architect to be the lead designer. I would expect the architect to help me understand the process, to help me prepare an overall brief strategy, and then to recommend other professionals that are needed to deliver that project and ensure that they deliver what they should be delivering, and on time. That's important. That's important. So it's a bit of a, from what I've seen, and rightly you pointed out as well, of the leading, guiding role, but it's also a managerial role.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, equally, as you said, the larger projects, it actually starts being better to have somebody engaged as a project manager.
Yes.
In that instance, rather than thinking your architect will do it all, because there's a cap of sort of value add that we as architects can add at the post 2 million, where actually we need the support, because the administrative role of the project to an extent is wider than what is, some architects will say that they'll take it on as full kind of in-house project management and everything as your lead design person. But you will see some limitations. And I think that's where the value of a project manager above that £2 million mark really starts to set in.
Absolutely.
Because they're not then focused on the nitty-gritty of the design. They're focused on your protection and delivery and making sure everybody else is doing what they're supposed to be doing as they go along. Yeah,
absolutely. So if you're in the position that your project will be more than £2 million, I would seriously consider first approaching a project manager who will then assist the selection and appointment of the design team, strictly design team. And as projects get larger, that sort of those administrative roles can also expand as well. So on larger projects, you've got separate design managers who only manage the design and delivery. Then you've got project managers, as we said, but you're right that project manager introducing those administrative roles frees up the architect to actually deal with design.
Yeah.
But it's not viable to split those roles on smaller projects.
Yeah.
Because even on a small project, I think project manager it's difficult to find a project manager for less than, say, £50,000, £60,000, even on smaller projects.
Yeah.
This is the money you can spend on your kitchen.
Yeah.
I would recommend spending
it on
there.
the kitchen where you see the end result. And I think you've been quite clear about like where that value comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess then, as you said, traditionally, a client comes to architect, and it's within the architect's advisory capacity at that stage to advise the client whether this project is better suited with a project manager.
In that case, let's talk about the smaller ones, right?
Okay.
We can discuss project manager, because what I think we're going to talk about, or what I want to say about that process, it applies to project manager as well.
Yeah.
But how do you choose? How do you go about picking an architect and appointing architect? How do you choose them?
How do you choose them? Good question, isn't it? So one of the things that I'd probably say at the outset is, don't forget the architect isn't your friend. So when they first come and introduce you, however lovely they are, and a lot of them are, they're not going to be your friend. They are sort of being engaged in a professional capacity. And it's likely you'll be in bed with them for 2-3 years.
Well, depending on the project.
Depending on the project,
yeah,
2-3 years.
More than a year.
And there will be ups and downs. And that's quite normal in a project. And again, as client protector, sometimes we will come with news that you don't necessarily want to hear, but we're here to guide you and lead you through the process. And there will be occasions where the conversations aren't comfortable. They're about money. They're about things that can be off the beaten track a little bit. But go on.
It's an idea for another episode.
We'll just keep writing a list, right?
yeah, exactly. How do I deal with low points in journey, in our journey with my architect?
But it's important that you understand that the outset that there will be highs and lows, and when you're then going through a selection process, ask yourself, okay, this person is lovely in my living room on day one. Are they giving me the confidence that they're going to have these uncomfortable conversations with me through the process? And how will I feel with the delivery of that? And it's being really honest about that, and have a kind of almost like a mini questionnaire that you start with that's not interrogating necessarily, but you want to
interrogate all you want.
Right, exactly. Because at the beginning is when you want to know is, can I work with this person through the course of a long-term relationship, and typically in a process that I know very little about.
Yeah.
Because most people don't do this in the kind of homeowner market many times in their life. So you can ask your friends for recommendations and you can go through all of that process, but work with your friend might not necessarily work for you. So we always, again, a bit like contractors, recommend interviewing at least 4 different architects, but don't go out to 10. Right? There comes a point where it's a waste of time, right?
And your own time as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to sort of emphasize what you very briefly mentioned a few minutes ago, when you said this is likely to be, after buying your property, this is likely to be the most expensive thing you've ever done in your life. And the other thing is, buying property, although not easy, but usually takes a few months, right? Most projects beyond, say few $100,000, beyond that, most projects take years.
Yeah.
I would take it a little bit further. No, not further. Before actually you approach. So if you consider, if you think that you're embarking on a journey that's will take you likely hundreds of thousands, if not more, and it will take several years, I would say that it's really, really beneficial to spend some time thinking about what you want and what you want to get out of it.
Yeah.
Right? And I say we because I can't design anything, so I would get an architect as well. I did get an architect, but I will not come up with solutions. I will not design things, and I may not know as a client, I may not know how to achieve something. But if I'm thinking about spending an X amount of money and getting on that journey, I would sit down and actually, usually in private client setting, that will be a family or a couple, and actually discuss, what do we want? What do you want to get out of it? Maybe you have young kids and you want space for the kids to grow into and provide while they're teenagers. Perhaps your kids are teenagers and you want to look at the space or doing the space up in the way that will suit you once the kids get out of home. Just think about the end goal, right? And write it down and agree between you. If you're a couple, agree it, right? And then start looking at architects. In that case, the smaller projects, look at architects and also I would say, first, actually look at the designs. Do you like the designs? Many architects can design to your needs, your preferences, but it's much easier to find one that has the same taste as you. Yeah, it will just work better.
Yeah.
So do that research first, and then contact them, and then interrogate them. Absolutely, you're absolutely right.
And I think
it will be up and down. There will be low points as well.
In an ideal world, your client will have a full brief. They'll know exactly what they're looking to kind of achieve at the outset. The reality is
it ideal? You don't want a client where you come as an architect and the client tells you, I want the wall here and I
but so much more frequently, the first time husband and wife are kind of actually having, is this what we want conversations, is when we're sat there asking them.
Yeah.
And it's not unusual in my position as the architect to go around and say, okay, so your kids are, 2-3 years old now. You're envisioning staying here for another 20, 30 years because you've thought about schools when you bought the property. But how is this space going to be when they're studying? And I'm asking, small nitty-gritty things like, are you both comfortable with children having laptops in their bedrooms? And they'll look at each other like, it's not something we've thought about. Okay, so do you need a space where they're studying in the kitchen where you can kind of supervise that? And sometimes people just don't necessarily think about beyond their current position. It's our job as the designer.
Never done it.
Exactly. It's our job as the architect to help them navigate that process. Yeah. And you'll get a sense of that in those early conversations.
Is an idea for another podcast. What to consider in your brief. No.
But yeah, completely. And it's about kind of really the lead designer, architect is there to help you do that. So you will have a premise of what you want your outcome to be.
Yeah.
But actually, it's part of that initial process is kind of eking it out of you, really helping you think that through. And I think all too often, some of the feedback that we get when people are interviewing architects is, the last guy came in for 15 minutes and didn't ask any questions, but you've come here and sat down and, you've spent an hour, 90 minutes just understanding how we live. And again, that will work for some people and other people it won't work for. So it's about that resonance that you have with the person that's in your home and how much that means to you, if that makes sense. Yeah. And that's part of that brief building process. But you're absolutely right. Go with something to then whittle it down. All too often, and I think you mentioned, do you like their design style? I'd almost say absolutely the opposite. Like, do you like... Because we can design to what you want it to be. Some architects won't necessarily. They'll have a palette and a portfolio and they work to that. And if you admire an architect for something and you've seen their stuff and you've been to an open house and you think, I want that guy to do my house, go for it. That's fine. That will work for some people. In other instances, the actual navigation of choosing the architect can be very different. It's like, I want somebody who's local, that can be here in 10 minutes. If there's a problem on site, again, looking at the smaller scale.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
There's very different ways to facilitate it. Equally, if you want something that's very highly sustainable, as passive house standards, or something really, you've got a clear intent of what you want your house to be, off grid and all the rest of it, find a specialist for that, because those are all things where you will benefit from that expertise of that particular design.
And that will come out from your brief.
Exactly.
Right? It will come out what's important for you. And then you can almost treat the brief as a bit of a checklist, right? So we said, have a brief. Right?
Yes, I think, yes.
Yeah, research your architects.
However light that brief might be.
Research your architects. And I have to add it on. I do have to add it on as a quantity surveyor. Have a budget.
Yes, I agree.
And try to be realistic about budget. It's difficult to judge. I would say listening to other people, non-professionals, probably misleading these days. Especially we had well over 30% cost increase on small projects in the last 5 years.
There's the charming QS in you, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, it is. It is, but it's be realistic, and perhaps if you don't know what it should cost, you don't have to, and maybe it's too early because you don't know what you're building. Actually, you want an outcome, but have that clarity of what you want or can afford to spend.
Yeah, what are you comfortable spending on this?
Yes, because every project has a business case.
Yeah,
right. There isn't a project I worked on that didn't have business case.
Yeah.
Everyone does, and we work for very wealthy people on multi-million pounds projects, and there was a limit that they wanted to spend. Right, they could spend more, but there was a limit. We work for people who, this is the money we've got, and that's it. There is nothing else. We work for people who treat it more of it is our home, but in a few years' time or 10 years' time, we will move. I don't want to spend more than that, because actually I want to, when we move, I want to make money, not lose money on this property. So every project has a business case. And I find clients often cagey about the money conversation, the M word, right? But if us as professionals, if we meet the client first time, and I sometimes do it as well, not often, architects do it more often, but I sometimes do, we act as project managers from time to time, not very often, but sometimes we do. If we don't know how much you want to spend, it's like there's a big part of the brief that's missing. Because then everyone's tiptoeing around it, and it's like, okay, then you want to achieve this and that, but if you tell us you've got £250,000, we know what's achievable within that. Yeah. Even before QS step in, what's achievable within that. And if you tell us you've got 1.2 million, we also know what's achievable in that.
And I think it's being honest about the budget is key. And I think there's also some of what you said there is about customers being coy about that. They're afraid that the architect's going to base their fee on that budget, so they think that actually,
of course you do,
and that's fine.
But if they tell you lower budget, you still know what they want to build, how much it will
cost, right? Yeah. And some of those early day conversations are really about, especially when we first enter and somebody says, I want to do this for this, and it's like, actually you can't. Yeah, it's as simple possible as that.
Yeah,
and sometimes it's just being upfront and honest. It's saying, and I'm sure you see this all the time when somebody says, "Oh, you can do this. I've only got £1 million and I want to do this," and I'm like, you looks like they're looking through their shopping list and saying, "Yeah, how about you need 3 million, and then we can have the conversation." And they think that you're there to flatten them, and that's not really the intention. The intention is to be absolutely clear about how much
and honest
this is going to get you. And yes, then you can design around it, but you've got to be realistic about what that can get you. It's a bit like when you go into the supermarket and you suddenly say, I want 3 tins of tomatoes, but actually you've only got the money for one. Well, then you've only got the money for one. That's the reality, right?
Yeah. So we've got the brief.
Yep.
We've got, looking at the design, what you want, the checklist of what's important for you. I'm just looking at my list a little bit. The taking time to get that clarity, because it is probably the second most expensive thing you will ever do, and then we've got the budget. Right, and
getting a sense from their previous clients as well, right?
Well, so that's the next thing. What do you do? I would say you shortlist your architects. You contact them, and then you start vetting them. The suppliers in the end, as you pointed out. Brutally, in a way. You put it brutally. There are suppliers, and you want to check what if they are capable of delivering to what you want. So in the same way as if you go out to do shopping, say a new car, it's a little bit more expensive than a new code.
Tomatoes.
but than the new code. But you think long and hard about what you want in your car, and you can go and do checklists, or you just go crazy because you love the shape or color. But you start checking it, and because it's a long-term relationship, you already mentioned it, check references, check the previous projects, ask specifically about previous clients about those difficult moments when you hit stumble blocks, about timely deliverables. I mean, construction suffers with delayed
a bad reputation.
Well, there's always, most projects, many projects go over time and over budget, right? Let's be clear about that, and I think that's
another podcast in itself.
But actually, that's another series, because I think when we decided to do this podcast, that came out from those conversations. Yes. Why do projects go over budget and over time, and how would we do a project that
idealistically
that stays within budget and
I think
time.
On time, though, even with your design team and those early day choices, what does that conversation actually look like? That point about I'm expecting this to be delivered then, if and it's so frequently that it's life events that are dictating, particularly at the smaller end of the market, where kids are due to do their GCSEs next year or whatever it might be, and I want this to be starting on site, ready for when they finish, which may be realistic, it may not be, and it's again our role in this to help you navigate whether that is tangible or not. So, but equally, sometimes if you're in a listed building or anything like that, just the planning timeframes can kick everything out of kilter. How do you feel when you're navigating that is part of that process? Because there's a feeling associated with all of this, right? Because you kind of engaging an architect and you're hoping for a smooth sail. But unfortunately, the wind never blows like that in what we do. So it's kind of being realistic about, okay, my architect said they're going to deliver this. Some things are in our control, other things aren't. But make sure you've clearly set out within your brief parameters what
deliverables,
right? And when they're going to be, and what.
Yeah. So if
your architect should be able to tell you what would kick it out as well.
Yeah. So if time may be one of the important factors, passive house maybe, or specific design maybe, but it could be time that you need to have that completed, and I'll be clear, completed, not started on site, because I see it a lot. It doesn't equal. If you start on site earlier, doesn't equal to complete earlier. But it will be one of your checklists. But I would say in that respect, talk to a few people about it, few architects, and then be wary of those who overpromise. In the end, you're inviting, say, 4 different businesses to come and bid for your money, and the predominant initial objective is to win your money. And not everyone is honest and professional, and there are people who will overpromise. So if you've got 3 telling you that your project is going to take about a couple of years, and then you've got the 4th one saying, "Oh, we can have it all done and dusted in 9 months' time," I would take it with a pinch of salt. Yeah.
And I think that's really important. It's kind of those red flags that often come up. Whether that be completely unrealistic prices. So we've often, we'll be one of those 4 that go round, and there'll be somebody that's come in woefully cheaper.
Yeah.
And just do the maths, just do the basic, cosmetic maths as to how long something should take, however good you are, or whether you're outsourcing it to the deepest parts of the world. There is a ratio of cost involved. And if somebody is saying £800 for planning, and it's scary that, people can, or they'll come and measure your house for 350 quid.
Yeah.
How does that equate? Just basic time, hour. Yeah. It doesn't.
Yeah. And good design takes time.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It doesn't happen immediately. It takes few approaches, some discovery, as you mentioned. But the fee, say, if you're a client, and I've said that to my clients a few times in the past, is, say you're doing a smaller project, right? Sorry for those who say $500,000 is a smaller project, right? Yeah. But say you've got $500,000 to spend. How much do you expect to pay for good design? And when you having everything else equal, maybe wrong, not having everything else equal, but having 4 designers that will a difference in design cost of, say, £10,000-20,000, will that difference in design cost be more important than the quality of the service you get?
It's a tricky question, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. I think it's very
clear.
Simple. I mean, the design fees are dwarfed. They're absolutely dwarfed. Or professional fees.
Completely.
Like my fees as well. They're absolutely dwarfed by the risk and potential of cost overruns during construction. Yeah. Right? Or potential for time delays on the project. Yeah. It's not unheard of for projects that were supposed to take 2 years to take 3 or 4, right? How much does it cost you to often lose that property, especially if you're not living there and you just purchased it and it takes 2 years longer? How much does it cost you to have that property standing empty and not having a use of it for 2 years extra?
Yeah. And wherever else you may be living at that time, right?
It dwarfs any fee, any professional fees, right? So getting the right lead designer first and the right design team and a QS, if viable, it's in comparison to the risks and the losses due to poor delivery. Yeah, those fees are inconsequential. Yes, in the way.
And I think that point that you made, like the design value that you get out of it, is often not very tangible.
No, it's not.
And people don't necessarily appreciate that cost of design. But there are moments at the end, if we think about the outcomes that we're looking for in this scenario, there are moments at the end where if you walk into your home and you know that the design is what you want and need it to be, it's the things that will bring you the joy at the end. It's the thing that creates a home. Yeah. And I think we can't lose sight of that in that process, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it's like,
but you're right, it's not tangible. And actually, I wouldn't want to do an episode about that.
You wouldn't. That's the first one you said you wouldn't want to do.
No, it's like, how do you,
How do you quantify that?
No, you cannot.
Right.
But it's very true because, over the last 20 years, I work on many projects, right? And I don't usually comment on design, but we work on projects where people spend a ton of money. Unfortunately, I wouldn't want to take photos for my portfolio.
Wow.
Yeah, the design was so poor that it was a shame. It was a real shame. And we worked on projects that
is that in your opinion? Because design's so subjective.
Well, it is in my opinion. It's subjective. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'm not.
But I assume the client liked it. Your hesitation implies in some instances, maybe not.
I assume so. Or they put a brave face on. I guess they did like it.
And that's sometimes the point, isn't it?
That's true.
That this is about their home, not ours.
It is.
And sometimes we will do things,
that's true.
That isn't necessarily to our taste because it's their brief.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we've missed off on this conversation about client delivery?
I think we pretty much covered everything on the list we sort of discussed earlier before recording.
Any 5 tips then? You kind of sum it up then.
To sum it up, well, I've got the process, brief first.
Yeah.
Research, like desk study.
Allowing the time for the research.
Yeah, do contact. I mean, I can tell you, it's like just to add on to it, how we approach it if we are project managers.
Yeah.
So we ache out that brief out of the client and get them to sign up to it. And we do a research of architects, usually people we work with previously, and say, well, we think these are, say, 7, 8 that would be good for you. Would be good for your project. And then the client goes on the website and have a little look quietly before we contact them and say, okay, well, let's talk to those people. Then we share a brief with the architect, and so they have a good understanding of the project, or better understanding than otherwise. And we ask them to come with some solutions to the meeting. To the first meeting. Obviously, we don't want them to do loads of work, but just to get the feel of what they're proposing.
You did that little dance to kind of.
We say we propose to do this. We see that maybe that would be an option. And it's really interesting to watch it. Yeah. And people or architects approach it in very differently.
Yeah.
People, they approach it very differently, and some just come up and sketch things, and some come up with full presentations. Others just talk their way through it.
I'm probably in that camp because, like, my ideas is my property sort of things. Within reason, I'm happy to talk through space.
Within reason, and then there is a conversation, maybe another meeting with the very narrow shortlisted list, maybe another couple that you want to further investigate it. We usually then talk about deliverables and timescales. What is, in my opinion, absolutely paramount is that you have your design team, and it will differ on project. On your £100,000 extension, you're talking about this one person who designs from the study or loft room or whatnot. You don't need a full team, right? And so it's all relative to the project, but it's important that your design team has capacity to deliver what needs to be delivered on time and when it's required. So we discuss the deliverables and have a bit of an agreement what would be done and when. Then we assess it, go through the proposals and weigh up those proposals, the time deliverables, and the fee.
Yeah.
And we make recommendation to the client. If client doesn't do them themselves, then obviously they would assess it and then go with and then make an appointment.
And probably the last thing to probably...
And references, we already talked about it.
Yes.
References, talking to the previous clients, seeing the actual live projects and asking how the process has gone.
Has gone. But the last thing I'd probably add to that, and I may have lost my train of thought there a little bit, but is how long you should allow for that process. Depends on the complexity of your project, in my view. And equally, again, going back to the point that I think we've stressed a few times already, is that this is one of the biggest purchases after the house.
And the second more important factor.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't skimp it. And I think
take time.
If it takes 6 months, let it take 6 months. You know, if you don't, in your life capacity, bearing in mind, you know, people are busy, work, kids, all the rest of it, don't have the time to give it, and it has to wait until both you and your partner are on holiday to be able to focus on making those decisions, again, so be it. Because I think all too often people try and rush these decisions and then are left with a load of regret at the end of it. Yeah. So I'd probably say, 6 months sounds like a long time, but it may not be if that's the time that you can afford yourself in that kind of brief building from that very start of seed that, damn it, I need to fix this problem in the house where I don't have enough of whatever space, whatever it might be. From that seed being planted to the point when the architect is actually engaged, be realistic about what that will take you as a person. Because the number of people that will be like, oh yeah, I within a week they're expecting to hire the people.
No,
it's madness.
Yeah, that's unreasonable. I'm a little bit more impatient than you, so 6 months sounds like a long.
That's probably a long time, but it has happened.
Yeah, but I think 6 months, if you include your preparation of brief, it's absolutely reasonable. And actually, that preparation of the brief and the crystallization of what you actually want, I don't think we can tell anyone how long it takes.
Exactly,
right? Because it's about bit of soul searching and very often as a family it's about deciding what you all want. So that is difficult. But I would say for just to go to the market and then appointment, 3 months. I think it's that's sufficient time to go through options, to go back and forth a little bit, to assess, negotiate. I would allow 3 months, and even if it's 6. Once again, this is dwarfed by any potential delays caused by wrong choices, right? Because I'm not going to tell you how often we get engaged on the project, and we told we want to go to tender in October to start on site in January. And it's about February that we actually get the signed documents for the tender. So it's the delivery timing. It's more important.
Capacity as part of that, right?
Yeah. It's more important than taking than speeding through the selection process. One more thing, if I can add on, because I think we're running out of time. But if I can add on one more thing, it's
you got the final word.
No, that's not the final word, but it's something that you mentioned right at the beginning. And actually, I think you were a little bit unfair to architects or the relationship. You said that architect is not your friend and there will be good and bad times, which is correct. However, I think when you choose an architect, you should. I would choose someone I get on with.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely
because
critical.
It's a long journey, and even if they did the loveliest designer I've seen in my life, and even if they were the best, that had the best deliverables, timelines, and fee. If I don't get on with that person, it would be a nightmare. It's just, it's not going to work. It's actually, that's what it is. It won't work because it's a very close relationship. And it's a relationship that the success of the outcome depends on you being on the same wavelengths and of understanding each other without having to specify every single thing in writing. So it's important, and that you get on. Yeah, very, very important.
And I think we can wrap it up there, right?
I don't know. Maybe you've got the last point.
No. I think you've said it beautifully.
Don't go to KSs first. Come to us. I think that's it.
Thanks for listening to the Home Project podcast. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and stay tuned for further episodes where you'll be able to learn a little bit more about how you can avoid a horror build.
Make sure that you like and subscribe the podcast on the platform of your choosing. And with the launch, for the first 25 people who subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review, we offer a free 30-minute consultation with either Tina as an architect or myself as a quantity surveyor, where you can ask us questions about your project, and we'll try to put you on the right path.